1-0 for sinking. And we're off. This is game 3 of the OSL semifinal between Stork and Bisu. It's been absolutely crazy so far. We saw there that Bisu is in the yellow in the top right, by the way. And so that means Stork is going to be in the bottom left. I didn't catch his color, but he's going to be the one that's not yellow. And purple again! Yes! Stork 3-0! Oh, Stork has been purple in the first 2 games, and he won both. And now that he's purple again, he is fated to win again. That's absolutely amazing. I just want to say real quick, Klazart mentioned in the first game that both players really deserve to win the MSL final a couple of seasons ago, and that's kind of why I'm rooting for Stork here, because Bisu has had a lot of the limelight, and Stork, even though he's been playing spectacularly and he's Kespa #2, he still has yet to win a title, so I really think he deserves to go ahead and win a title. I think he can beat Jaedong if he does finish this off. In any case, what do you think about the momentum so far, Diggity?
Really, I've been amazed, absolutely astounded by Stork's I have to say, it's superior micro, and I feel that's where Bisu was kind of lacking against Free, looking a little despondent there on screen. And when it comes to, that's the difference in these games thus far. You see, what was it, 8 Dragoons taking down, going against 2 Reavers and a dropship, and 5 Dragoons and coming out ahead. I haven't seen that in a long time, honestly, and that just shows you just fantastic, just absolutely brilliant micromanagement, especially in a map.
Remind me again of Versus Flash.
Sure.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it looked exactly like Versus Flash, and it was just absolutely beautiful. Stork basically using map creativity, and we'll see if that comes into play on Blue Storm. Blue Storm being one of those more proxy maps, although I don't think either of these players are going to go all in. But yeah, it astounded me. That's all I keep saying that over and over again. But really, we'll have to see if that's a factor here. If Bisu can come back with his micro, it looks like he's going for a 2-gate build, not putting his gas down, going to go for more of a Zealot push into Stork, and Stork actually going to go gas. Looks like he's going for more of a Dragoon build. So again, it's going to come down to micromanagement, and I think that's telling. As you can see, Bisu going for Zealot's going to go for the lower micromanagement count, and feeling a lot behind. What do you think, Klazart?
Yeah, if I'm Bisu right now, I'm about ready to pull my hair out. I'm shivering, I'm shaking, I'm nervous, I'm sweating, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this guy, because Stork looks absolutely unstoppable. And this is kind of how Bisu looked against Savior, because really, in the first game, Bisu had the right tech. Bisu had the tech lead, and yet Stork managed to pull out in front. In the second game, it was Stork who had the tech advantage, and he beat Bisu. So it doesn't seem to matter what Bisu does. Stork is doing everything right, and really that second game was a masterclass. And in terms of what I think went wrong, I think really that game was finished when Bisu's push up Stork's ramp failed, and Stork with that godlike micro where he maneuvered that one Dragoon in a big circle around his units, around his main.
That was spectacular.
It was brilliant because his gateways were at the ramp. Yeah, his gateways were at the ramp, and his Dragoons popped out just in time on that ramp to kill off Bisu's remaining forces, and then he was just able to consolidate. And from that point on, Bisu didn't have an in the game, and Stork played it perfectly. So, we talk about these pro games, we talk about one mistake costing you the game, and that's what that was all about. Once he made that one mistake in a game at this level, it's just that is it. There's no coming back.
You can tell that Bisu is scared here because he's gone for the 2 gates here, and Stork kind of doing what we see him do. He's kind of chilling, and he's using the distance of the map, getting that tech up, and then he's going to depend on his micromanagement to defend him against the superior army, basically, and that's what we see starting here.
Yeah, as you can see that Dragoon just backing up. And basically, the question is this is an entirely micro battle. 1 Zealot down now, taking out the probe. So 1 Zealot, 1 Dragoon versus 2 Zealots. And this is that's absolutely beautiful, and that's going to be the depictor in this map, in my opinion. It looked like Stork
and now
brilliantly.
Second Dragoon out, so
oh my God, two Dragoons out.
This is
managed to sneak it through. That was beautiful. That was it right there.
I can't believe.
Managed to sneak that Dragoon basically past both Dragoons. In the meantime, he got that. I was about to mention that. He got that pylon down at Bisu's secondary. Oh man,
so
absolutely brilliant
Bisu
micro.
From expanding. Stork stops Bisu from expanding. He's got the tech advantage. He lost 1 Zealot to Bisu's 4 or 5 Zealots.
Gosh.
Of course, when you've got Dragoons versus Zealots, it does give you that little bit of an advantage because it's easier to micro Dragoons than it is to Zealots, since Dragoons can fire while moving back, and Zealots obviously have to close in on melee range. But that's the decision making. Stork with a Citadel going up, guys. Stork with a Citadel, and I think this time we might see a Templar because he's not gone for a robotics facility this time around. And Bisu, considering the fact that he has, first of all, gone for the 2 gateways, and second of all, gone for that Nexus, I don't think Bisu's going to have observers in time, guys. I think Stork is going to close this game out. This is a must-win game for Bisu, and are we going to see Stork finally overturn the deficit this time around, taking Bisu?
And Stork still using that advantage. I mean, only a slight tech advantage, having those Dragoons still going over there, picking off Zealots on his way over his base, and using another Zealot to deny that scout. He knows that Bisu needs that scout to win, especially now that he's going for Templar, probably. Huge deal. If Bisu scouts that, then that gambit will be over. So he really knows that he needs to, not let him scout that out. And
the
wow.
Only saving grace on Blue Storm is those. The only saving grace is Dragoons cannot go through that small gap where Zealots can. As you can see, that probe sneaking through there.
Dragoon popping right there. Door?
Cannons at Bisu door.
Yeah, okay, so he's got cannons, so that's going to help him against the Templar.
He expected it.
Yeah, so that's going to help him.
Yeah,
but
so
I
the
think
Templar
actually
are going
Stork
to be
might go for
neutralized
High Templar. I think Stork might go for High Templar.
Knowing Stork and knowing his basically his beautiful Psystorms, he might go for that. But again, I still think the only thing that's going to save Bisu at this point is again that one little gap that the Dragoons have to go all the way around, where Zealots can actually push through that small gap and get a little bit of a flank on the Goons. So the Goons have to hold that position.
It looked like he was getting a robotics facility and a Templar Archives. Did you catch where that second building was in the back of Stork's base? He could be going for
a robotics facility.
Okay,
wow,
I think it was Templar Archives too. Both of them with Templar Archives here. Oh yeah, Templar Archives, and yeah, usually in long-term games, the Psystorm is what makes a difference, especially in Protoss versus Protoss. The Psystorm going off all over the enemy's units is what makes or breaks a game. I mean, I saw a player lose a game the other day just because of the fact that he had it nailed, and then he had crappy storms, and it lost it for him. And so maybe we'll see some storms here. It could be that Stork is going for storm drops here because he's got the robotics facility and the Templar Archives at the same time.
Yeah, the telling thing for me is that Stork only has one gateway. Usually, if you're going for a Dark Templar, you need at least 2 gateways to keep pumping them out simultaneously. The fact that he's only got 1 gateway leads me to believe that it's not a DT. Okay, he does have 2 gateways. I don't think he's going to go for DTs personally, because he knows Bisu's got photon cannons, so it wouldn't really make sense.
Yeah,
and Bisu just, 1 photon cannon. And okay, Stork has gone for Dark Templar, so I think this is a little bit of a mistake by Stork. I think this might give Bisu back in the match, because if we can see the positions of the map, Stork has the early advantage. He's got the tech lead, he's got the advanced tech, and I think if he had gone for even a Reaver, he would have really been able to close this game out. However, Bisu has got those photon cannons, he's got the defensive, and Bisu's got a slight economic advantage because he put that Nexus down back, and that might be Bisu's back into the game.
I don't think Bisu has a cannon in the back door, though.
Back of his base, though.
And there's a huge map artifact along the bottom side, and as you can see, there's no cannon there. If a pylon going down, I was expecting cannon. If there is no cannon there, you're going to see a Dark Templar right in Bisu's
sending a Dark Templar out as well. Bisu's sending a Dark Templar out. What's crucial is I think Stork has got an observation going on. Stork has got observers. I think his
observer's going to come out right in time.
Yeah, the question is, I think Stork is going to be fine in terms of his defense. I think Bisu's in huge trouble because he hasn't put that cannon. Now this could be an oversight that cost Bisu
this could be the end.
Tournament.
This could be the end.
For Bisu.
That Dark Templar's outside the range.
He's outside the range of the cannon, so Bisu is dead.
Oh my god.
And
there's no cannons in the
base.
Oh my god.
He's run his probes out of both bases right now. He's got nowhere to run to. He's just putting up an observatory. Oh my god!
Trying to get the observatory down, but nothing.
No, it's GG. This is GG.
Oh my god.
Stork. Bisu's economy is dead.
3-0-ing. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Stork going 3-0.
I mean,
absolutely insane.
I know. I mean, Stork played brilliantly, but Diggity, I feel that Bisu hasn't been playing at his best. What do you think?
No, definitely. At this game, that was definitely a Class B or Class C even mistake. Not having cannons in range to protect your probes, and not putting a cannon to defend your main. Really huge mental errors on Bisu's part, and I think that's just kind of indicative of how flustered he is, how just absolutely stymied he's been by kind of the play of Stork in those first 2 games.
Yeah, I do have to hand it really hard. I don't think it's just a matter of Bisu being just off the whole day. I think it was a fact that he was flustered because Stork did kind of outplay him so bad in the first 2 games, and that is why he seems to have almost choked in this 3rd game. Although, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say he played horribly. It was just things fell out kind of wrong for him in this case. But yeah, things went very badly for him.
Now Stork definitely has a huge advantage. Now has that Templar out, and he probably already has Psystorm research. My guess is he's just going to go in for that final pummel. He could actually get a Storm on the back of Bisu's base, but honestly, my guess is he's just going to opt for shoving it. Bisu knows it. Yeah.
He knows it. You can see it in his face.
Bisu was swallowing a lump in his throat. Sorry guys, I actually pulled my microphone and my headset actually out. I jacked the wires out in my excitement. I don't know what I was trying to do. Yeah, with my one free hand, if you know what I mean. But but that was just, oh god. I have to say, I think the first game Bisu played quite brilliantly, and I think he was just stunned by how much better Stork managed to still come out. I think Bisu thought he had that game won, and then Stork still won, and Bisu was thinking to himself, what do I do now? And in the second game, even though he played a good game, he was just demolished by superior strategy. And Stork, once again, I think you know, you've got players. I mean, when you've got the best players playing against each other, sometimes the players have a day where, you know, they're in the zone, and Stork, you know, and Xavier, of course, had a year where he was in the zone, but Stork today is in the zone, and in this kind of form, I don't think there's anyone. I don't think even Xavier with his massive Zerg versus Protoss would be able to beat Stork today.
No matter what forces Bisu throws at him right now, he's got, it looked like 4 Templar right there. He's probably going to have at least 8 Storms going on. So that's basically going to tear up any forces that he can send him. I wonder
he's pushing in for a drop, but I don't think that drop's going to basically do anything. It looks like Stork's well prepared, has cannons all over the map. It looks like he's going to Sidestorm. Wow, Sidestorm.
Nice little drop.
Decent Sidestorm.
That's clever.
Well,
I don't think that's going to make the difference here.
Yeah, in my opinion, this game is purely academic from here on in, guys.
Yeah,
this
I wonder if Bisu actually went into this game with any kind of overconfidence, because we did see him lose against Xavier because of overconfidence and Mind because of some overconfidence, I think. I wonder if that played at all into this game, because, I mean, coming back against Xavier, and he did, I think I read something that he wrote to his fans that he was going to come back really easily and don't worry about it or something like that. I wonder if he thought that he had this game owned because Stork gets off the first storm, storming his Templar. Oh, that's going to be all over his Dragoons.
And Bisu not even moving his troops.
Yeah, this game is purely academic at this point, guys, which is good, because it gives us time to analyze the whole matchup as a whole and kind of discuss what was going on. Because really, it is pretty much academic at this point. But I've got to disagree with you, Moltrap, about the comment about Bisu's overconfidence. I do not think it was a case of overconfidence at all. I think, yes, I think what happened was, obviously against Mind, he was overconfident to start with. And I think since his game was leading up to a game versus Xavier, and obviously Xavier is his arch nemesis, I think at the time he was practicing for his fight versus Xavier, and that's why he found himself overwhelmed by Mind, because Mind obviously practiced a lot harder and Bisu underestimated him, and I think that was overconfidence that costed Bisu that matchup. However, versus Xavier, I think Bisu was just actually lacking in confidence in game 1 versus Xavier, and also a little bit distracted after that devastating loss in the MSL finals, which Bisu obviously thought he was going to just waltz through, and he didn't. And I think that affected him, and that's why he lost the game in week 1. But then he had a week's break, which allowed him time to recuperate and came up against Xavier. And I think in this game, I don't think he would have underestimated Stork, because Stork is a Protoss god. I mean, Stork, Nal Ra is someone who's famous for Protoss versus Protoss, and we all saw what Stork did to Nal Ra on his way back in the MSL last season. Yeah. So I don't think he should underestimate Stork.
Off here. Oh my god!
That's a nail in the coffin.
Oh,
and as you can see, beautiful. Yeah,
Stork is like a Tyrannosaurus Rex right now, toying with his food. He's just toying with his prey in the jungle. Bisu is wandering around among the trees, looking for spots of daylight, while Stork is growling and making sounds and crunching leaves underfoot around Bisu. And no matter where Bisu turns, death faces him.
I was about to say that maybe Bisu is holding Stork off somehow, and maybe he might be able to fight his way back into this. If anyone can, Bisu can, but then he just lost all of his economy, so I don't think that there's any way at this point.
Let's see if he can defend this expansion, but again,
this
Stork
might be
has
the
a lot
last
of
battle
Templar
right
out.
here.
That's his forte, and Storm going to go off
all
over.
Stork gets off Stork gets off the first storm all over Bisu's units. Although it looks like most of his units die as well, so Bisu might actually take this battle.
Bisu survives the battle, but I think in the long run, it's just Stork's production is much faster, Stork's economy is superior, and even though Bisu won that battle, Stork's reinforcements are going to arrive and mop up what's remaining of Bisu, and really, in the form, and another drop going off, so Stork is just, another drop, and this is going to finish off Bisu's economy. Good reactions by Bisu, but unfortunately it's too little, and I mean, in the form that we've seen Stork playing today, you know, you don't expect him to give up a lead of this level and allow his opponent to come back into the game.
No,
you just don't think. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't believe that's going to happen. And Bisu doesn't believe it's not going to happen. I don't think Bisu believes it. Bisu calls GG. Stork is in the finals.
Stork 3-0. Wow. Kespa #1. 3-0ing what everyone until a few weeks ago would have said was the best StarCraft player in the entire world, and Stork has just completely owned him. Outplayed him at every point, and Stork looking definitely proud of himself. Yeah. Wow, that was crazy.
I've got to ask you this. I've got to ask Diggity this. Diggity, what is it that has made the key difference today? Is it confidence? Is it just that Bisu is off his game for some reason? Why is that if he's off his game? Is Stork just in the zone? Is it just that maybe Stork is a superior player and that for the first time he's found the confidence to allow that to manifest itself? What do you think it has been really the difference?
Really, I've heard people comment that Stork lacked confidence in the MSL Finals. I'm not sure if that was necessarily the case, but today Stork lacked no confidence whatsoever. As you saw, just really what won him almost every single engagement, in my opinion, was just superior micromanagement. Across the board, he won matches. I mean, even in Game 1, where you saw just making beautiful decisions, just picking off that observer, picking off the drop, which I thought was more impressive. Picking off a dropship was basically 3 Reavers, 2 dropships versus a group of Dragoons, and comes out ahead against Bisu, who's really a dropship master. Just absolutely on fire today. Bisu played well, but Stork playing like an absolute champion, and it's going to be great to see him against Jadon.
Bisu played damn well. He didn't play badly at all. He was still. Sorry.
I've got a hypothetical here for you, Moletrap. Had Game 1 gone the other way, despite everything Stork did, had Bisu managed to come out with the win, do you think that would have changed the shape of the rest of the matchup? Or do you? Because I feel I'm starting to feel that Game 1 was what really gave Stork the confidence to go through Game 2 and Game 3.
You know, it may have been. It may have been indeed, because in their MSL finals, that's kind of what happened. Is Bisu did take the first game, and it set up the momentum for the whole match, which was not nearly as one-sided, obviously. I do wonder if that's kind of how things work. I was thinking it's kind of funny. Stork actually, his play reminded me of Bisu's play almost. Just this. I think he won it just because. They both have this absolutely crazy micro, but I think Stork's game sense was actually just a little bit above Bisu's today. His reaction to all the strategies and what was going on, and kind of inferring what Bisu was doing in all parts of the play, and knowing exactly what to do at all points in time. I think that's really what won him the match today, and I think that may have been with him even if he'd managed to lose the first game.
You saw that in Game 2. Yeah, basically Bisu starting to ferry troops out. That was basically his last chance. What he had to do is get some sort of troop movement outside of his base, and Stork just absolutely sensing the perfect moment.
He psychically saw it coming.
Like a vice crushing down on Bisu's troops, dual directions. As you can see, Despondent right there on
really,
screen.
I think the main thing that won the match today for Stork was 3 purple in a row. 3 purple in a row. 3 rings in a row.
Is lucky color.
Enough said.
Is it purple or is it pink?
Yeah. It's purple, I think. Pink, I don't know. There's debate, but I'm going to say
pink
purple.
Like the lips of your lover, huh? But,
by the way, that woman there, Samsung's coach, congratulating Stork for anyone that doesn't recognize her.
Yeah, I'm sure she's gone a long way towards building Stork's confidence.
Yeah, definitely.
In more ways than one. Okay, I'm sorry. I take that back.
Hope you guys enjoyed that.
Wait, actually, before we go, guys, I want to ask you
Okay.
something. This is something I need to ask both of you guys now. I want both of you guys to input on this.
Go ahead.
Do you think this? I mean, the devastating nature of that loss. How do you think Bisu is going to react to this? Do you think he's going to be able to bounce back and come back? Because I don't think, Bisu won the MSL confidently last time around, even though Xavier took the other tournament, and even though Bisu got kicked out by Flash, he hasn't faced. I mean, Flash when he beat Bisu more by cheese. So I don't think that would have hurt his confidence so much around last time around the OSL.
Yeah.
But this is the first time in a long time that Bisu has faced such absolute devastation and destruction by any player. He's just been made to look like someone who doesn't even. But yeah, he's made to look like a player who doesn't. I mean, I'm not even talking about in a one match. I'm talking about in a best of 5 series or a best of 5 series.
Yeah.
It's the first time that Bisu has been dismantled so thoroughly that he has never had to face something like this before. Do you guys think this is going to be possibly the start of a slump for Bisu, or do you think he has the mental toughness to bounce back? How do you think we're going to see him next season?
That's really the question. I think one of the things that's carried Bisu this entire last year, and I think he still will get Player of the Year this year, most likely, just because he's been absolutely dominant. But really what's carried him is just indomitable confidence. He's just come like a champion to play any opponent that comes up. When he plays Savior, he doesn't even think about losing. And that's why I think he comes out in a lot of those matches. Aside from just absolutely astounding micromanagement, he carries himself like a champ. And the question is now will he be able to recover? And I honestly don't know. This game itself might be an indication. Is this a reaction from Mind? I don't know. I'm going to have to check basically a couple Pro League games down the line, and I think that'll be the indicator.
Yeah, we'll have to kind of see how he starts playing. Well, I mean, obviously to see if he's going to continue playing well or not. We'll have to see if he continues playing well or not. But that is one of his major things that he's had is his confidence going into all of his matches, and it will be interesting to see if it's broken. Honestly, though, I don't see him getting knocked into a slump by this. I think that he'll be able to turn around, and he's enough of a pimp that he'll just be able to turn around and be like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna keep playing, and I think his reign of dominance might be over, but he's still gonna be a definite contender.
Well, let me give you guys an analogy. Yeah, let me give you guys an analogy. Xavier won 3 MSLs in a row. The following season, he won the OSL and looks set to be doing the double and winning both the OSL and the MSL together.
Yeah.
And in the final of the MSL, he came up against Bisu and was absolutely destroyed by Bisu in that game. And that was what changed it around, because the OSL was what Xavier was worried about the most. The MSL he assumed he would win because he'd already dismantled Bisu earlier in the tournament, and he wasn't worried about facing Bisu. And yet Bisu came out with the win. And that was when we saw a change in Xavier. That was when his dominance ended. That was when his godlike play stopped. I mean, he's still pretty damn amazing. He's still the best Zerg player there is out there, and he's still among the best 2 or 3 players in the world in StarCraft, and he's obviously, on his day can beat anyone, and is a hard opponent to face even on his worst days. But he just didn't have that kind of thing that Stork had today. Xavier hasn't had that for the last season that Stork had today, where just he was untouchable, where no one could even come near beating him, where every decision he made paid off, where every gamble he took came to fruition. And that was the kind of way Stork was playing today. And that is the kind of way Bisu has been playing for the last season or two, in his own dominance and the way he handled Xavier. And so the question is, that whitewash against Mind and now versus Stork, is that going to mean for Bisu what it did for Xavier, or is it going to be worse? I think at the very least it's going to take a little bit of time before Bisu can recuperate from this.
Really, I think the question we should be focusing on is the flip question: is this the start of a kind of a dominant, Bonjour type a series for Stork? Is he now going to be the dominant player? Is he going to kind of move into his own, or is he going to be kind of like a Jelizerg, where he gets that OSL win, where he has a really dominant streak, but really it doesn't translate into more MSL or OSL wins further down the line?
Well, what do you think, Moletrap? I'd like to hear your thoughts before I give my own on this.
On if the Stork. Well, honestly, I kind of see Stork he's been building up gradually towards this. I mean, it's not like he's just come out of nowhere and done this. He's been building himself up. Getting into a certain round in one MSL, and then a certain round in the next MSL, and then getting to the MSL finals, obviously a couple seasons ago, and now finally coming in here. And I honestly favor him to take the OSL championship from Jaedong, although we'll have to see about that. But so I think he is going to continue. I don't know if he's going to necessarily be dominant, only because of the fact that and people say that his Protoss versus Zerg is bad, and really looking at it though, it's not bad. It's just not nearly as godly as Bisu's. But if you look at his record, Savior
as well.
Yeah, Saviour's the only one basically that's been taking him out of Star Leagues recently. Aside from
this is the thing, isn't it?
In my opinion.
I think one thing I've just realized, guys, is we're talking about this as if he's already won the OSL. This is the semifinals, and we're acting like it was the finals.
Yeah,
and I think because of the epic nature of the rivalry between these two players, I think the excitement of it, we've forgotten that there's still the final to play. Stork isn't OSL champion yet, so before we start about a streak of dominance, he still has to beat Jaedong in the OSL final. And I think in terms of that streak of dominance, the thing for me is that I know I'm going to get lambasted for this by a lot of you guys, and especially by Moletrap, but I don't think Stork is as well-rounded a player as Bisu is. I think Stork, I've always felt that Protoss versus Protoss was his strongest game, and that's why I really expected him to win the MSL finals against Bisu last time around. However, I do feel that his Protoss versus Zerg, again, I think you're right. I mean, his Protoss versus Zerg is pretty damn good, but unlike where Bisu can consistently beat Xavier in Protoss versus Zerg, that's something Stork has not yet been able to do, and really that has been his Achilles heel. He's looked pretty strong in Protoss versus Terran as well, so I think in terms of a dominating streak, I don't know if his game is well-rounded enough. I think he depends a little bit more on luck than Bisu does, because he needs the right matchups, because had he met Xavier where Bisu, had it been Stork versus Xavier instead of Bisu versus Xavier, I think...
That's why I was rooting for Bisu against Xavier.
Right, I think we would have had
Yeah.
Bisu versus Savior in the Bisu versus Savior in the semifinals rather than Stork versus Bisu in the semifinals. If Bisu had, you know what I mean? I don't think Stork would have won against
No,
Savior, even though he's been playing so good. So I think the real test is actually going to be the finals. Can he produce the goods against Jaedong, who's looking pretty solid again, who's been very lucky
Jaedong's
because.
looking awesome, yeah.
But Jaedong's been lucky too, guys, because Jaedong has avoided the three best players in this competition. He's avoided Savior, he's avoided Bisu, and he's avoided Stork. You know, all the good players he's had to beat, I admit, he's done a great job, but he's avoided the three best players in the competition thus far. So his half of the draw has been really, really smooth for him in comparison to what these guys have gone through. And really, you know, for Jaedong, the final is going to be the test of whether he really belongs at this level of play, at the at the S-class level. Does he belong with Savior and Bisu and Stork? And it's going to be similarly a test for Stork to see whether if he can dominate Jaedong the way he dominated Bisu today, then, only then, will I be willing to concede that it may be a beginning of his era of dominance.
That's true. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to say that he had. I just, some people, they look at his record and they say, oh, only 50% wins against Zerg. His Protoss versus Zerg sucks. When in fact, all of his wins have been against, his losses have been only from good Zergs. If you look at his record, and so it's really not as bad as people kind of make it out to be. And you're right, though, he does still kind of have this test. And Jaedong, basically, I think the hurdle for Stork to really gain that absolute domination is still Savior, because Jaedong not known for his Zerg versus Protoss. So I think before we can declare Stork the ultimate champion of all creation, he does need to beat Savior at some point. I'm hoping he'll practice his Zerg off and do that at some point.
Really, to be fair to Jaedong, though, his road to the OSL, I mean, he went through Light and Up Magic, two very, very, very strong players. And in Pro League, he's been playing fantastic as well, in my opinion, taking down Iris. He was part of that Iris slump. And also, to kind of be more significant, most recently he beat Savior, which wasn't terribly long ago, and just a fantastic micro and macro duel, in my opinion. He just showed to be a more dominant player in that matchup. However, at the beginning of the OSL, let's keep in mind, he dropped a game to Stork. Now, the question is will he adapt from that? Who's going to adapt their game better is really what it comes down to. Who's going to improve their worst feature the best? And that, I know that sounds odd, but the question is will Jaedong be able to prepare enough for his weakest matchup, Protoss, or will Stork be able to prepare well enough for his weakest matchup, Zerg?
Yeah, I think, if you look at it, the amount of confidence Stork would have gained after especially after game one, the way he played against Bisu, I think you can't compare that to the amount of confidence Jaedong might gain after beating, say, Up Magic. And again, I don't mean to be disparaging, but I don't really consider Up Magic and Light to be the top tier players out there. I know they're very good players, but I've never, I've never considered Light to be a champion. To be honest, I've never considered Jaedong or Up Magic to be champion material either. But maybe, just maybe, this is the season where Jaedong comes into his own, where he needs that little bit of confidence. Because if I compare in terms of, I won't talk about Zerg versus Zerg, but if I compare Jaedong and Saviour's styles of play, and if you contrast them, the bit where Jaedong is lacking is that extra bit of multitasking that Savior seems to have with Zerg, where Savior not only, Jaedong is good at macro. Jaedong has a pretty good overall macro, but so therefore his economy is very good always, and he always has a lot of units on the ground. But it's his actual in-game coordination of attacks, I felt, that is a little bit weaker than Savior's, and that has been his Achilles heel in the past, where bringing the Defilers, the Zerglings, the Lurkers, the Mutalisks, the Scourges, all down together at the same point. And last season when Iris won the OSL, that's what he had to do. That was the hurdle he had to overcome to actually win it versus Iris, where, and even then he was wasting a few Scourges, whereas Savior never wastes any Scourges. And that's really what we're going to have to see. And moreover, how is Jaedong going to overcome the map disadvantage that Savior could not? In my opinion, I don't think Savior could have done anything different versus Bisu. I think Bisu played perfect, but I think Savior played perfect too. And I do feel that, if Savior couldn't overcome that advantage versus Bisu, I'm not sure how Jaedong is going to be able to overcome it against Stork. Although, again, Stork's Protoss versus Zerg isn't at the level of Bisu's. What do you think about that contrast there, Moltrap? What do you feel about that contrast?
I don't know. I think basically, that Stork has it in him to have that same level of Protoss versus Zerg, just because, that's primarily the micro. It's the same sort of micro. It's going to be the, especially with the Reavers and Shuttles. If Stork can kind of harness his Reaver Shuttle micro that he uses in Terran and versus Protoss, then he'll be able to do pretty well against Zerg as well. I don't know. It's hard to tell though because the use of Corsairs and things comes into it. Things end up being a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, I don't have an impression in the front of my mind right now of Stork's ability to, like you said, kind of bring things all together at the same time in the same place. Although he did show the ability to do that in this set, definitely.
Really, I feel like Stork, just when I've seen him use Corsairs, he almost feels uncomfortable. It almost looks like using them. I think that's what has come. Basically, that's what has come. Can't talk all of a sudden. That is what it will come down to. It's like 3 a.m. while we're doing this. But well, at least Moletrap and I. And the Corsairs are basically there you go. But can you control 3 Corsairs at 3 different locations and get your dropship going? And that's what it's going to come down to for Stork is working on that. I think he can. I think he's capable, definitely. But let's another factor. Just to interrupt real fast.
Okay, go ahead.
But let's also keep in mind the map set is we're going to see Persona, we're going to see Blue Storm, we're going to see Fantasy 2, and is Zodiac the 4th map in the set? I'm blanking all of a sudden. In OSL, what are the maps being played? Katrina is going to be the other map. Katrina really are the maps going to basically play any sort of factor? Blue Storm being obviously the smaller map, kind of people have talked about how it's kind of an anti-Protoss map versus the other 3 maps, which are a little more spread out, a little larger. And really, Persona, the one I'm most curious about with that Dark Swarm. Dark Swarm's almost an advantage for Protoss players.
Persona is going to be Game 1 and Game 5 in that set.
And that could really be key in my opinion.
Yeah, Persona is an interesting map with the Dark Swarms all over it. I think that almost favors Zerg a little bit more than favors Protoss, because even though Zealots are very strong under the Swarm, Zerg are designed to fight under Swarm. The Zerg race is built, Swarm is built for the Zerg race. So in my view, that gives Zerg a little bit of a way back into the game because of those Swarms. The Zerg doesn't have to then research Dark Swarm as much if he chooses to fight his battles wisely, and it allows the Zerg to play a much more total strategy. But I think the key worry, as both of you guys have pointed out, is going to be the level of multitasking that's required, because that's what it took Bisu to beat Savior at his best. Being able to micro the Corsairs, his ground troops, and the Shuttle Reaver independently of each other, or the Shuttle Storms independently of each other at the same time, and hit simultaneously, and have the timing to hit simultaneously. And that's what Stork is going to have to do. Now, we saw a glimpse of that in Game 1 versus Bisu, and I have to say, I've not always considered Stork to be the best multitasker in StarCraft, though he's obviously pretty good at it. But in Game 1, the level of multitasking he displayed, again, in terms of the timing of it, the timing was a little bit off, because the Reaver dropped, then a couple, about 20 seconds later, the 4 Zealots ran into Bisu's base, then a little while later, there was a big encounter in the middle. So Stork wasn't actually doing all 3 things at the exact same moment in time in the way that Bisu was doing it versus Savior, where the exact same moment in time the Corsairs were killing Overlords while he was defending with a couple of Dragoons in his main, while he was storming some drones somewhere else on the map. So that's what Stork is going to have to be able to pull off, assuming Jadon can bring his level of play up to the kind of level we've seen from Savior and Zerg versus Protoss matchups.
Really, if you're gonna talk about micromanagement on that level, he's gonna have to duplicate what he did on Blue Storm, where he's micromanaging a Zealot and 2 Dragoons across the map, and simultaneously putting a probe on the other side of the map. That was absolutely beautiful, and really, I'm not gonna say that won him the match, but that definitely put him far ahead.
If nothing else, Stork has shown in this entire set that his micromanagement in general, on at least a small scale, if not multitasking, his micromanagement is absolutely brilliant, and I won't say unmatched, but definitely the top level.
I gotta tell you guys, I didn't see this from him last season in the MSL, or maybe the season before last. In the MSL finals, which he lost to Bisu, we didn't see that level of dominant micromanagement that we saw versus him today.
No.
In those matches, it was Stork who had the macro unit advantage on the ground, but Bisu won through playing cleverly and positioning his forces better, letting Stork come to him, fighting on the ramps, and positioning himself better on the map, and actually winning those mini battles, and even with lesser troop counts, still managing to keep in the game in order to give him the early arbiter advantage. Whereas today, not only was Stork's economy brilliant, he was also dominant in terms of his actual micro and multitasking. So he seems to have rounded off his game a lot better this season.
Yeah, in this set, you definitely saw Stork going in with inferior amounts of units and still coming out of the battles at least even, or even things up, if not coming out ahead in those battles where he actually went in with less units. And that definitely was basically what ended up winning a lot of those battles and a lot of those matches.
Well,
So
Diggity, the one thing I want to ask you though is it fair to say that it was superior micromanagement by Stork, or was it more an overall strategy thing that gave him a position where he could micromanage superiorly? Let me give you 2 examples of that. For example,
Yeah, I think it's the latter personally.
In the game
Sorry,
3
go ahead.
when Bisu was you're okay. In game 3 when Bisu was going up the ramp, Stork had Dragoons versus Bisu's Zealots and Dragoons, and the fact that Stork had more Dragoons meant that the Zealots had to be kept in melee range. Sorry, game 2, and it was the same in game 3, where again, Stork was microing Dragoons versus Zealots, and yes, we can say Stork's micro is brilliant, but really, how hard is it to click a Dragoon and move it back, and leave your other Dragoon shooting, and then I can micro that level, obviously not as good as Stork, but we're giving him a lot of credit for his micro here, where really each time in those micros he was playing with a little bit of a unit advantage in the micro battles, and
kind of all goes back to the game sense then.
Right, exactly. And in the first game, when we're talking about the Reavers versus Dragoons, again, the way that came together was Bisu was caught a little bit off in his timing because he didn't have all of his units together. He had a couple of Dragoons, then his Reavers dropped in. Stork managed to bring all his Dragoons in together at the same time, and again, he was using Dragoons to target Reavers, and Bisu's micro seemed to suffer a little bit there in terms of picking up the Reavers from the shuttle. His shuttle hovered away. So, yes, Stork's micro was brilliant, but how much was his facility? Do you think, Diggity, was it really that Stork's micro is brilliant, or was it that his micro is looking better than it actually is because of the way the units were positioned on the map?
That's actually a very interesting point. I definitely think that's the case in portions of Game 1, as you see, which I just think was brilliant play on Stork, throwing those Zealots into Bisu's supply line, dropping that Reaver back, and actually I would say sacrificing that Reaver so he'd kind of get a micromanagement advantage in that battle that he was basically engaging in the middle of the map. But really, when you look at it, Bisu had his full intention. Basically, you can see the way he was moving those drop shuttle around, especially in that Dragoon versus 3 Reavers push, which was really, I think, the most impressive part of Stork's micro out of the 3 sets. Is he had 8 Dragoons versus 3 Reavers, and usually that's not a winning combo, especially when you have 2 drop shuttles out there. And you could see that the drop shuttles were in fact being microed decently by Bisu. He was attempting to do micro there, and he was basically ignoring the Zealots in his base, which is why I think they did a lot more damage than they would have otherwise. And Stork still came out ahead. And I guess a counterexample of that would definitely be, I'm trying to think which game it was. Game again, the very similar situation on, I think it was Fantasy 2, where basically Stork taking the ramp, and again just Dragoons versus Reavers and Dragoons, and comes ahead somehow, and I was just like, absolutely fantastic. And also key again in Game 1, going and picking off that Observer and pushing in from there with the Dark Templar. Just
that was sheer brilliance. Really, sniping the Observer right before sending the DT, and that was hilarious.
If anything else, you can say that Stork's game sense, let's not even talk about micromanagement, his game sense was absolutely flawless in these 3 matches.
He did not make a wrong move. He did not take a wrong step. He did not even breathe at the wrong time, and I've got to agree with you. And on that note, guys, I think we could probably keep analyzing these games for another 2 hours, but I think people probably you guys are probably listening to us, are probably getting, these guys are getting repetitive now and getting boring. So on that note, we hope to see you guys for the finals, which we will be doing together. And hopefully. I just want to say a big thank you to Diggity and Moletrap for bringing me in to do this with them. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for joining us.
The honor is definitely ours, yes.
So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll be back.
Thanks for listening.
All right.